Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my new or updated patrons, David E., Bill H., and Stephen O. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. First up today, we got the Tesla China weekly insurance number, came in at 13,900. Comparing that number to the same week during quarter one, week 7, that was 2,600. However, that was thanks to the Chinese New Year. Yes, quarter over quarter, Tesla made up significant ground with this week, but that was to be expected. Now, quarter 2 sits at 16.6% ahead of the pace from quarter 1. And the number for week 7, quarter 2 last year was 10,200, so Tesla made up some ground there, and currently quarter 2 sits down 6.3% compared to the same time frame last year. I'm happy to provide this data for everybody, but honestly, it's not going to be that helpful. The quarter over quarter comparison is skewed thanks to the Chinese New Year in Q1, and the year over year comparison is not great because in quarter 2 of last year, the Shanghai factory was shut down for just over a week. Dan Priestley, a senior engineer for the Tesla Semi, just gave a speech at the Advanced Clean Transportation Expo in Las Vegas. This was Tesla's first time participating in a conference like this, so I think that goes to show that the time for Tesla to push for mass market adoption definitely starts now. Tesla said the tare weight for the Tesla Semi, which is just with an empty trailer included, for the standard range it can go 300 miles and that's under 20,000 pounds. The long range, which can go 500 miles, is under 23,000 pounds. Dan also clarified for us for that over 1,000 miles per day that the Tesla Semi could do at that Run on Less event, 60% of those miles were above 70,000 pounds for a gross combination weight. So it wasn't just a bunch of empty trailers that were doing over 1,000 miles per day. So far, Tesla has accumulated over 3.5 million miles with the Tesla Semi, and across the fleet, Tesla is averaging 1.7 kilowatt hours of efficiency. Dan highlighted some of the crossover between the passenger vehicles and the Semi and how they use the same heat pump and same thermal compressor. Not only that, but a lot of the same software as well. We also learned that PepsiCo has been hauling beverages, so not just potato chips as some have been speculating. Pepsi has also started delivery of an additional 50 Tesla Semis that will operate out of their facility in Fresno, taking their total Tesla Semi fleet to 86 when this round is done. Tesla is also building more Semis for its own fleet, and Dan said Tesla will make some other customer deliveries this year as well, so there's definitely some level of production continually taking place at the current Giga Nevada site. The Tesla Semi uptime for the current fleet has been over 95%, and Tesla has its own pilot group of service technicians, but this will evolve as the Tesla Semi scales, as they plan to leverage their service parts network on the passenger car side. What's neat is Tesla almost plans to be a soft partner, as I would say, with some of these customers to help them build out their own service team if desired. Dan said Pepsi's already taking on more and more of the service for their Tesla Semi fleet because Tesla's really not focused on making service a profit center. We got a glimpse of what the new Tesla Semi factory in Nevada may look like, and he confirmed a 50,000 unit target capacity per year. They will start the customer delivery ramp in 2026. And he mentioned how that product will be different than the current version with all of the learnings that are happening now. And just my own 2 cents here, I'm not expecting Tesla to hit that 50,000 per year number until 2027 at the very earliest. On the charging side, Tesla's focused on being very collaborative with everyone in the industry because they're going to need help to build out this public mega charging network. I think this is going overlooked a bit. Dan mentioned how the industry estimates were around $1,000 per kilowatt for these sites being installed, whereas Tesla sees a path to do it at $500 per kilowatt installed, which means fully deployed to the customer. So if you do the math, the power demand from different customers will vary, but it usually goes in increments of 3 megawatts. So from there up to 12 megawatts, that would mean on the high end, 12 megawatts is 12,000 kilowatts, and at $500 per kilowatt, that's $6 million for Tesla's charging solution compared to $12 million for the industry average. Dan also pleaded with the industry to build competing EV semis and for customers to start partnering with Tesla so that they could co-develop all of the infrastructure, and he asked the industry to stop building out CCS chargers. Tesla does see a big opportunity for the semi longer term in Europe, but he did mention places in the US like Georgia and Illinois. Honestly, for me, the coolest part of this interview was just the focus on building out the overall ecosystem with all of these different partners that Tesla's already working with, and once these are proven out and more public, you know many others will get in line. He also talked about how Tesla's Megapack can play a role for everyone to continually maximize the return on investment for customers and shorten the payback period. Ultimately, this will lead to the highest efficiency numbers possible. It was plain as day Tesla is very eager to continually working with new partners, basically anyone that's looking to electrify their fleet and to do so at scale. Finally, one thing that should be painfully obvious, but clearly it's not for legacy OEMs, Dan said this whole powertrain agnostic idea, build ICE, EV, hybrid, whatever on the same platform, does not lead to compelling or efficient vehicles. Now, who knows when customers will realize this, but it will be a key part of Tesla's advantage that will just play out in the long run. 50,000 semis per year at $200,000 a pop is $10 billion in annual revenue. At a 20% gross margin, that's $2 billion in annual profit. Take out taxes of 20%, that leaves $1.6 billion, divided by roughly 3.1 billion shares outstanding. That would be good for about 52 cents in earnings per share when the time comes. Pepsi confirmed today not only are they taking delivery of those 50 additional Tesla semis, they'll also be rolling out 75 Ford E-Transit electric vans. The vans will serve a variety of applications, including sales and deliveries and service support, and they confirmed that at that Fresno facility, Pepsi currently has 8 750 kilowatt Tesla chargers. Following the lead of many others, Nissan has now paused development plans for 2 battery-powered sedans while still expanding its EV lineup to 5 vehicles in the US. A spokesperson said, "We're adjusting the timeline for the introduction of these 5 new models to ensure we bring them to the market at the right time. All we really learned, Nissan still plans to bring those sedans to market, but the company expects the SUVs to be rolled out faster than the sedans." The CEO of Lamborghini has said electric supercars are selling poorly and he does not think they'll catch on. We haven't talked much about this segment of the market as of late, but the truth is leaders from all high-end companies have been saying the same thing. Mate Remots recently said buyers in the high end of the market want to differentiate themselves as EVs go mainstream. They want combustion engines and an analog feel, not what the masses buy. Other companies like Bugatti and Pagani have said similar things, and some of their main arguments are that EV batteries are still just too heavy and it takes away from the overall driving experience. Remots also said they only plan to make 150 of the Navara hypercar, and that car is still for sale and it's been out there for some time now. I have a feeling that the Tesla Roadster may change the outlook of some of these industry players when the time comes. You may have seen Tesla releasing a few Form PX14A6G. Now, these basically just make it possible for investors to be exempt from solicitation rules, really just a legal way to inform other shareholders about their own voting decisions. Using this form, an investor is then free to discuss with shareholders why they might want to vote in a specific way. So with this form, then it becomes not a formal solicitation and it allows the people to communicate on corporate governance matters with shareholders and board members. There are a few of these out there now. One of them was from the SOC Investment Group. They go on to argue why they're urging shareholders to vote against the re-election of Kimball and Murdoch and against Elon's 2018 comp plan. However, if you scroll to the bottom of the document, it's actually signed by more organizations than just the SOC Investment Group. There's also another one encouraging shareholders to vote for Proposal 8, which would require Tesla to now prepare these reports describing and quantifying the effectiveness of Tesla's efforts to prevent harassment and discrimination at its locations. It doesn't take much digging to learn the SOC Group's entire purpose for existing is to hold corporate corporations and their leadership accountable for irresponsible and unethical behavior, including excessive executive pay. One more for good measure, they work with pension funds sponsored by unions, a coalition of unions representing more than 2 million members. All I know for sure, we're all eager to put this voting behind us so we can move forward one way or another. Yesterday, there was a 2-alarm commercial structure fire in a 2-story building at Tesla's factory in Fremont. The fire apparently originated in an oven used in vehicle manufacturing, but no one was injured and the firefighters were done putting it out around 8 p.m. That's after it started just before 5 p.m. Tesla has yet again dropped the price of the entry-level Model Y in Australia by $3,300 US. They've also dropped the price of the entry-level Model 3 by about $2,700 US. And the Model 3 long range was cut by around $2,000 US. All other variants remain unchanged. Finally, some good news for a legacy OEM when it comes to electric endeavors. Ford's EV charging infrastructure will be used across the city of Dallas. The city wants to electrify its fleet by 2040. As part of that goal, they've signed a 10-year agreement with Ford Pro to install Ford EV charging at its work sites. They'll also rely on their smart charging software to customize and manage EV charging. This will be a significant opportunity for Ford to begin proving itself when it comes to its own EV charging platform. Tesla cannot do it all by themselves, especially right now with a limited workforce. Plus, the sooner other companies develop these competencies with rolling out EV charging infrastructure, the better it'll be for the EV transition. From a leaked document in a Rivian forum, it looks like Rivian is doing a mid-cycle refresh for the R1S and R1T that will include the addition of a heat pump and LFP battery packs. Standard for the R1T and S will be a dual motor layout with a 92.5 kilowatt-hour LFP pack. The document listed several different range figures for different variations, but on the low end, they broke it down to 321 miles on the highway, on the high end, 405 miles in the city. The charging rate stayed the same at up to 210 kilowatts. The most disappointing part of this, though, was that these vehicles will use CCS instead of NACS. When it comes to Tesla advertising, I think they need to take some of the quotes they've been getting from all of these different police departments across the country. A police department in Indiana has said its fleet of 13 Tesla cars saves taxpayers around $80,000 per year in fuel costs compared to gas vehicles. The police chief said it was a high risk in the very beginning, but it's proven now. The town is saving enough on fuel to pay for 2 additional officers. If you've been watching the news at all across the country, this is a pretty big deal. Many police departments across the country have been cutting staff and cutting hours to save money. And where the average consumer is getting caught up, Teslas cost more than a Dodge Charger or a Ford Victoria, but the money saved on fuel makes up for the difference in less than 3 years. As we've been saying now for years, it's all about the total cost of ownership. Not only is it the right move economically, but the officers like driving the Tesla as well. One said anytime he has to go back in a gas car, he can't wait for his car, his Tesla, to come back. The chief said it's working, it saves a lot of money, and I have to think there's a lot of agencies in the country that are like mine that it would work for. Self-driving vehicles could be on British roads by 2026 after the government's Automated Vehicle Act became law yesterday. They're saying this act delivers the most comprehensive legal framework of its kind worldwide, setting out who is liable for autonomous vehicles, meaning drivers can be assured when they're using this technology they will not be at fault. Thus, for the first time, corporations like insurance providers, software developers, and automotive manufacturers can assume this responsibility. Hopefully, other locations across the EU and around the world will take note of this and continue to push the industry forward. And just a few quick ones from yesterday. Tesla put out this video encouraging shareholders to vote, but there were a few Easter eggs in the video. One of those was this image, which is presumably part of the Cybercab, and a lot of people were speculating it was the front bumper. However, if you look at this design from the Isaacson book, you may see a similar shape actually on the rear bumper. Here it is again, so this could be the back passenger side. And again, just to show you a possible comparison. And there was some unnecessary drama being stirred up around these images, which show possibly the inside of the Cybercab. And hey, I know we're all eagerly awaiting any detail we can get, but let's not get carried away with these drawings as if this is going to be the final final design. It may give us some clues, but at this point, I think that's really all it should be. And finally, if you go to this prototype, which was also found in the video, you may notice this section right here behind the seats. If you've been following along, you may remember this camera setup in a Model 3 doing some testing. This shape and camera placement right here would seem to fit fairly well in this spot right here. Just saying. Tesla's FSD 12.4 has begun rolling out to employees, and now the driver monitoring system is primarily relying on the interior camera, moving away from the actual steering wheel nag. That feature will only work if the camera is not occluded and it can actually see your eyes, so you can't be wearing sunglasses, low hats, etc. They said if the camera detects you're not paying attention, all you'll have to do is return your attention to the road and the warning will disappear. And to everybody out there that's currently stuck on FSD version 11, Elon said this should be very rare after the 12.4 rollout. We have to sync up vehicle software. There's way too many hardware variants with FSD. Indonesia's Minister of Investments, Luhut Panjaitan, has said that Elon will consider an offer to build an EV battery plant in the country. He said, "We made an offer. It's possible to build an EV battery plant here, precursor cathode, and Elon will consider it." Luhut also said that Joko Widodo, the Indonesian president, also asked Elon to consider investing in an AI center and for SpaceX to build a launch pad in Indonesia. Honestly though, given the global state of affairs, I'm not really expecting any new factory announcements anytime in the next 6 months. When it comes to Giga Texas, Elon said the roof will be fully covered by solar except for the word Tesla, which will be gently outlined in light so you can see it at night from airliners coming to Austin. We also finally got confirmation that the rear portion of Tesla's factory expansion in Austin, the part furthest away from the glass, which is likely right here on the screen, will be a super dense water-cooled supercomputer cluster. Elon gave us no indication whether this would be Dojo, Nvidia, AMD, a combination, but given that he did not specify Dojo, I would lean toward it being Nvidia heavy. That is just speculation on my part. Also, for whatever it may be worth, recently we learned that Tesla's data center in Austin was behind schedule. The information had said the planned Dojo supercomputer site had been beset by issues, with Elon furious about the delays. This was thanks in part to delivery issues, bad weather, and other construction issues. They also said that the Boring Company tunnel was unbuilt, and with that, the data center's ground floor cannot be laid. Looking at Joe Tetmeyer's recent flyover of Austin, specifically the new expansion, that part does check out. The floor has yet to be laid. In a painful reminder how the public has bought into all of the FUD over the years, there was a new battery energy storage project that was proposed for a location in New York. It wasn't big, it would only consist of 24 Tesla Megapack 2XLs, but the news here is the proposal was met with opposition from the community thanks to safety risks. Of the people that attended a meeting about this project, 70 to 80% were opposed. They were worried about fires thanks to a school being nearby. From day one, battery energy storage projects, specifically from Tesla, have actually been pretty safe, and as we talked about last week, the reliability has come a long way in just the past few years. At this point, it's safe to say worrying about battery fires, specifically from a Tesla Megapack, is not a rational fear. So the fire department in the Mount Sinai area said they were satisfied with everything they heard at the meeting, but it's the general public that still needs to be educated. Apparently, one Cybertruck is not enough for Kim Kardashian, as the word is she has now become a repeat customer, having now bought a second one that she has wrapped in black. Speaking of the Cybertruck in black, I saw this one on a Reddit forum over the weekend and felt compelled to pass it along. This one's pretty neat. On X, Christopher took delivery of his Cyberbeast and had a conversation with some of the Tesla reps, and he learned the Cyberbeast ratio is less than 10% of all Cybertruck deliveries, and he said the delivery center that he talked to is doing double the Model Y volume since Tesla made the announcement about the 0.99% financing. For both the Model Y rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, you can now choose the dark gray Gemini wheels for an additional $500. The light or silver option is still available, and now it's free. Additionally, the Model 3 Performance got its official EPA range and it's 303 miles, up from 296 that was listed previously. And the 19-inch Nova wheels on the Model 3 are now $1,000, down from $1,500 before. By now, you've probably seen the former Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, as he tried out FSD, and he had a lot of great things to say. From his experience, however, we learned that there was one part where the car was being waved at, but it was not moving. The Tesla employee who was in the car with him said it does not yet recognize that gesture being waved at, but we're fixing it for the next iteration. It should be done next month. The easiest takeaway of Johnson's overall experience, he said, "I can report, ladies and gents, that the overall effect is astonishing." In a recent interview, Mary Barra has said their problems with battery cells are behind us now. Those lines have ramped. We're right on schedule to what we said we were going to be. It's not an issue now. As we move forward, we're going to build to demand. She said we now have the capability, but that they would not get into what's happened in other regions, and frankly, in some cases here, of the markdowns, because that really impacts your residual value and it hurts the brand over the long term. Which, yes, you could reasonably interpret is a direct shot at Tesla. But hopefully all of us here at this point are educated enough to know that the real reason GM's not going to lower the prices to try to compete with Tesla is because they can't. They're already losing too much money with their EVs. But if their Ultium EVs don't start selling in higher volumes toward the end of this year, then they may not have a choice. Tesla stock closed the day at $186.60, up 6.66%, while the Nasdaq was up 0.22%. It was a higher volume day for Tesla, trading about 19 million shares above the average volume the past 30 days. Two quick things. First, thank you for your patience on days like yesterday. As I'm sure you all know, at times life can come at you very fast. In response to those times, I have found a solution of sorts. So either later this week or next week, there should be 2 Electrified announcements, and I'm pretty excited for both of them, as they should both serve to enhance the overall Electrified experience, given that I am in this for the long term. So be on the lookout for those. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.